Welcome to Team Fortress 2. After 9 years in development, hopefully it will have been worth the wait. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your primary fire. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the primary fire again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game in order to show something to you. In these cases, simply press your primary fire again to stop the commentary. In addition, your secondary fire will cycle you through all of the commentary nodes in the level. Please let me know what you think after you have had a chance to play. I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com, and my favorite class is the Spy. Thanks, and have fun.
Games usually approach stats by comparing the player to everyone else in the world. This is only really of interest to those who are near the top. With Team Fortress 2, we decided that a better approach might be to compare the stats to the player's previous successes, turning them from a worldwide comparative system into a personalized motivational one. The beginning player gets encouragement and acknowledgement that while they're not highly skilled yet, they're getting better all the time. The veterans get to see when they've managed to come close to their previous record, which encourages them to beat that record. The personal stat system also acts as a validation system. When a player feels like they've had a really good run, the stat system pops up and essentially says, "You're right, that was a great run."
Once we had a handle on the art direction for our world and characters, we turned our attention to the weapons and gadgets. While these objects have some grounding in reality, they usually diverge in significant ways. For instance, the soldier's rocket launcher fits the general mold of a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher, but somehow manages to hold 4 rockets on a clip. To justify this and play up our stylized spy-tech fiction, we designed the weapons to look like customized pieces of hardware, personalized and modified by each character to suit his own ends. In keeping with the industrial theme of the game, we looked to 60s-era product design principles for our primary weapons, then focused on musical instruments for secondary and melee weapons, thinking these would reinforce the connection between the secondary items and each character's personality.
Characters are the most important piece of art in a multiplayer game, so that is where we spent most of our effort. We developed a read hierarchy for player models, prioritizing the information that players needed to be able to read merely by looking at the model. Our hierarchy was this: first, what team they're on, second, what class they're playing, and third, what weapon they're wielding. Team readability was addressed by adopting an overall color palette for each team, picking warm colors for red and cool colors for blue. Class readability was addressed through the character's silhouette. Unique silhouette and animation shapes are more identifiable at far distances, and across a broader range of light levels than any amount of other visual detail in the model. Finally, the weapon was highlighted through the textures. The areas of highest contrast, which attract players' eyes, are all focused around the chest area of our character models, right where they hold the weapon. In addition, the subtle gradient from darkness around the character's feet to the bright areas around the chest also helps draw the player's eyes to the weapons.
To achieve a style of character shading which is consistent with the early 20th century commercial illustrations that influenced our art direction, we alter the diffuse lighting on characters. Here we can see the heavy weapons guy as he appears in Team Fortress 2, using this type of shading style. Note the tight transition between the light and dark sides of the skin on his upper arm. Using a traditional shading model as seen here, the character lighting appears too soft and lacks the distinctive look seen in hand-painted illustrations. Our shading model, however, captures the dramatic transition between light and dark and helps to define the unmistakable look of Team Fortress 2. Another facet of illustrative shading is the use of rim highlights to accentuate the silhouettes of characters. Without the rim lighting, the characters tend to blend into the scenery. With the rim lighting, which you can see specifically on the heavy's shoulders, neck, and head in this example, our characters are visible against the rest of the scene and better fit the art style of Team Fortress 2.
Stalemates generally occur around doors, where teams have a strong defensive presence on either side of the opening. To help counter this, we provide alternate routes with high travel costs that become more attractive only when the enemy has strong defenses behind the main route. The number of enemy entry points to an area is crucial to its design, since it's extremely hard to hold an area when enemies approach from multiple fronts. This makes one-way exits a useful design tool, since they let us uncouple the number of entry points from the number of friendly offensive routes.
Our main goal in designing the Medigun was to build a strong relationship between the medic and his healing target. We wanted to see what we would get if we focused on creating a tight loop between two players, instead of just thinking about getting the larger team to cooperate. The Medigun's design ensures that the medic and his target are extremely conscious of each other, watching their health and relative positions and making tactical choices carefully. We wanted there to be skill involved in being a good healing target, so that medics would seek out and latch onto skilled targets. This helps foster the relationship we were after.
Each of the Team Fortress classes was designed to make a unique contribution to attack and defense, and control points are, fundamentally, methods of focusing players' attention on these core offensive and defensive activities. They are also useful for drawing players to different points of the map.
In our original design, once attackers were cleared off a point, they lost any progress they'd made towards capturing the point. Playtests revealed that lone players near an enemy control point had no incentive to try to capture it if any enemies were in the area. Furthermore, once a team was reduced to defending a single control point, the stronger attacking team was often unable to successfully assault the final point for the full capture period, which caused too many games to end in a stalemate. We changed the capture mechanic so that the capture progress persists for a while even after the attackers are cleared off the point, and this improvement fixed both of the problems with the original design.
We build our 3D skyboxes at 1/16 scale to reduce the memory used by the large spaces in them. This means that we have to get a little tricky when dealing with trains moving between the skybox and the player spaces. There are actually two versions of each moving train, a player-scaled one for the actual gameplay space and a tiny one out in the skybox. The small repair sheds on either side of the middle building disguise the point at which we swap between the two trains.
To accommodate snipers, maps need wide open spaces, long sight lines, and protective cover. Targets of the sniper require alternate routes that bypass the sniper's sight lines, though these usually have an additional cost, such as increased travel time. This leaves players with a choice. Do they take the more direct but hazardous route, or the safer yet slower route? Sniper positions generally also have a corresponding enemy sniper deck positioned on the other side of the arena, which allows one sniper to counter another, offering cover for teammates in exposed areas.
Ideally, matches should end in a victory for one team and a loss for the other. Stalemates are essentially a loss for both teams. To avoid stalemates, our map design considers two key variables: team respawn times and travel time from the respawn point to the front line. The team that's winning gets slightly faster respawn times and more forward respawn points, a positive reinforcement loop that increases the chances for them to push forward and win the game.